love Queer as Folk. I love that this is like a reimagining of the
Thank
original,
you.
moving forward in new directions. For you, what is the collaboration process like with Stephen? What is this writer's room experience and crafting this story like?
It was really wonderful. The pilot script had existed. Stephen had written this beautiful pilot that I fell in love with, and was so lucky that he brought me in to work with him in developing the show and breaking and writing the season. We had an amazing writers' room. Roxanne Gay, Ryan O'Connell, Brontez Purnell, Des Moran, Azim Mahmood, just like, and our assistants who all got half a script as well because they were wonderful. Alyssa and Maya and Sarah all did amazing work. But honestly, it was such a lovely process of breaking and telling these stories, because I think we were all coming at it from the same perspective, which was our watchword in the room was messy. So often you're the only one in a writer's room. And as a result, your job ends up being kind of using your identity as a shield against bad instincts of people who are mean well, but are taking the queer and trans characters in bad directions. And in this case, it was this beautiful opposite where we were a room full of queer folks and getting to tell the stories that only we could tell. Because the truth is, I am so done with art that only seems to argue that we are humans, that we are worthy of basic, like my humanity, queer people's humanity, trans people's humanity, that's self-evident to me at this point. And so getting to tell a story where these queer and trans characters are messy and are complicated, and they do fucked up stuff, and they cheat on people, and they lie, and they are selfish and all these things. I don't know any queer and trans people in my life that aren't a little messy, because I don't know any people in my life that aren't a little messy. And we allow that dignity of mess, that dignity of complication for cis folks of all races and all, genders. But we allow that. We get our Don Drapers or our, Kerry Washington on Scandal or our, Nancy Botwin on Weeds. We get all these things. But when it comes to queer people, we're people's best friend, or we're a villain that's like dropped in from the 90s and it feels like, what? I thought we moved past this.
Right.
Or we're just simply put upon saintly people who have to be, respectability above all to prove that we are worthy of love. And I think that we can be messy and complicated and also worthy of love and worthy of narrative. And that's what this show was about for me. And working with Stephen, who definitely we saw eye to eye on that. It was great. It was a great collaboration in the writer's room. And I got to, bring a lot of myself. Obviously, Ruthie is a character that is a lot of me. A lot of Ruthie's backstory is my backstory. A lot of speeches Ruthie gives are things that are just directly from my life. And also collaborating with Jesse James Keitel on creating that character was a very special experience. But it was a wonderful process.
That's wonderful. I'd love to hear that. And that's kind of what I was going to ask, because I was thinking it's such a large ensemble cast, and yet it's so impressive that people don't get lost in the shuffle. Normally you're watching a show and you've got like 3 characters who are like, they don't even need to be here, but I love them and I want to see more of them. So do you have a character? I mean, obviously Ruthie is one, but are there ever times that you're like fighting for a character to get more screen time? And you're like, hey, don't forget about this storyline.
Oh yeah. I mean, there are plenty. Ruthie is that character I feel like is a shared baby of mine and Jesse's and Stephen's. But I love Cher. I think CG is one of the greatest. I mean, it's so hard to pick. They're all so wonderful. I think Cher is such an interesting, complex character. Mingus is certainly, just that somebody at a different point in their gender journey. And I think that's really exciting too, that I feel like we don't have any tokened characters, people like there are shades of, everybody's allowed to be complicated, because even, we have Marvin and we have Julian. I always say Ryan because he was one of the writers as well.
Right.
But we have multiple queer characters with disabilities,
Right.
and not to mention, Niall DeMarco,
Mhm.
and Andrew Gurza comes. Like, there's so many, freeing people from the weight of just being representative,
Mhm.
and instead allowing them to be complicated and nuanced. I think that is the secret sauce to all this. And, that's something that I feel like on Dear White People, we also were able to do.
Right.
And that was something I really wanted to bring to this too, was the idea of have a bunch of everybody so that we can let people not have to be, oh, I'm the trans person. I'm the, and I think that's really, really special.
Right. Y'all definitely succeeded in that. So thank you so much. I cannot wait for everyone to watch it and to fall in love with it, as I have
Oh,
already.
oh, thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank
day.
you. Great talking to you.